Hi guys, and welcome back to Let's Build Hemburg. So, as you remember from the last episode, we did quite a few little bits and bobs of Hemburg. We built the walls, we built a couple of the paths, we built some farms out on the outside, and we also started on the town. One of the things I want to do this episode is really focus on the town, build it up a bit, make it feel a little bit more lived in, and then we can actually start doing some of the interiors, either on live streams or as Let's Build little series. It depends on, well, it just depends. So, last time, as you can see, we've got these kind of very thin walls between the towers. One of the things I want to do on this episode especially is to actually build these up and make them a little bit more defensible, especially in the noble district, and I actually end up redoing that part of it. But there you go, you can see the farms around the outside. So let's move over to the river. So we're actually on the riverside. One of the things I've wanted to do in Minecraft for a very, very long time is actually build a brewery. This is ever since I started doing, or actually learning from doing Minecraft tutorials in the very, very early days. Now this is actually a design by a guy called Dante78, and I saw this design on Renderosity. So it's actually a completely different 3D model, but I decided to recreate it in Minecraft, and it works really well. I'm really happy with it, and I'm looking forward to doing the interior on it. So the next bit, I'm actually building into the hill. This is right into the city, so a bit of a change straight away. And this is going to be some sort of shop, I think. It's either going to be a shop or a house. I'm not really too sure yet. I think we'll see. But building on the style that we kind of developed last time, very, very Rohan style houses. And just adding in a little bit more shapes, putting it on the hill and doing this kind of angled path going up to it, and using the different snow layers that we've actually got in the Conquest mod to do that. Next up is a blacksmith, of course really important to the town. Now with Hemburg and the Hemlands, which is where this kind of area is, they don't have any iron naturally occurring, so they actually trade for it, but they do bring it in for, of course, horseshoes, tools and things like that. So they actually do trade their crops to get access to like iron, maybe from the dwarves or something like that. So there we go, you can see lots of farm tools like axes and things like that, but no real weapons. So the next thing we're going to start building, or have started building, is the bakery. Of course, bakeries have been very, very important, especially to a community that has kind of open farmlands and has a lot of wheat. So bread kind of becomes a very large stable that they can then sell on if they wanted to, or they might just sell on the grain to kind of neighbours. So it's quite large, with a couple big furnaces on either side. Now behind the bakery, what I've decided to build is a tanner, so another purpose building. Again, using similar styles throughout the actual town, but varied in the different materials, using different woods, and yeah, just kind of like messing it up a little bit and trying it out. So you can see me putting in a couple of the little details here in the back, and we actually do need to go back in and detail this even more, but I'm trying to make it a bit muddy. So we've got like leather kind of around, you've also got some water for, I don't know, cleaning it maybe. Not sure, but here we go. The next building up is a warriors guild. So there's going to be some sort of kind of fighters guild, essentially, like you do get in Oblivion, you know, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. So same kind of idea. There's this guild of fighters that are basically mercenaries, but they belong to a guild. They're well trusted, that kind of thing. So this is going to be their guild hall within Hemburg. So it's quite big, and you can see I've worked quite a bit on the detail. Now, if we're actually going to go onto the side, we're going to build some stables. And just going to dig into this hill a little bit as well, and keep it on the flat so we create some levels in the actual town. Using different levels is just, I don't know, I just find it makes the entire place look really interesting. So you can see I've dug out that there, and then we've got this back area here behind it. And we're going to put up a couple of these kind of like targets and put some arrows down, a bit of detail. Now the idea of this is that the Fighters Guild have got it open so that when you actually kind of view it from that road, you might want to join them up. So this is what I was saying about really, really early in this episode, which is rebuilding the actual walls, especially in the noble district. And this was just me trying it out. This was again, Dante78 actually has kind of some really good models and things like that off this, and I've kind of tried to use bits and bobs from his kind of renders, I guess they're 3D renders that he's done, and try to incorporate that in Minecraft. It really, really works for this style. So a really messy wall. You can see I've got like building up different layers. and then actually putting on different bits of wood. There you go, you can see a small tower there that we've got, where it's just next to the gatehouse, which makes sense, and all these little small defences so that you could just, if you were under attack and they got through the city walls and you were just using the noble district to defend, you've got these small areas where you know, could get shot at, but you've also got these small defences and these small huts, but they don't look very good, they look quite messy. So you can see me building up the next tower. And the rule generally with this was it was 3 blocks deep in terms of the actual stone, and then just depending on where we actually were, I would then variate the sides of it and try to make it look a lot messier, and that really helped. So keeping this kind of solid base, but then, you know, adding bits onto it, I just found really helped, as well as taking little bits away as well. So you can see here, this time I decided to do it slightly different, and I decided to do the entire wall in one go, and then start to build up all the little bits of defences on there, including that circular tower. So I quite like these circular towers. There we go. So you can see me putting in the final bits of detail, building up those towers, and really they're just shelters where you could put guards. Now the same thing I wanted to do with the bottom bit, but not do it as detailed. So instead we've got this other wall here. The idea being that this is where Aurelia Calandria invaded them on that side, so they've put in some defences just to make themselves feel safer, but they haven't got enough money to put in complete defences. You see me just going around the inside as well on this, and just adding in those walls, and just building it up so that then guards can actually walk across it, and tying these up with each of the towers. And really this is just going to be a nice small walkway that the guards can use. So next thing up is a marketplace. Now I wanted to have some sort of central piece, and I haven't actually built it in this episode, but I am planning on doing some sort of tree in the middle, either that or a statue. I'm not really too sure, but I'm sure we can come up with something. So far on the left we've got a meat stand. Then we've got fruit and veg right next to that. Now the next one at the back here is going to be like a small soup kitchen. So you get like some bread and you get some soup. It's just kind of like a quick food stop. And the next one across from that is kind of like tanning place. Then we've got the grey one is for tobacco, and then we've got fish in this stall that we're building right now. And I quite like this small stand that I've actually made for the fish stand, especially since they've got a river nearby. It kind of makes sense for that they'd have fish coming in. Now the next one is going to be for selling firewood. Now, back in the medieval days, it depended on, well, what they were actually doing, but sometimes they'd actually have somebody coming door to door and give you the firewood. But in this case, we've got some in the centre of town. Now, the next thing is something that I've always wanted to do, and I just, for some reason, never have, and that is some gallows. So this is where you actually, if anyone's been misbehaving, you would then hang them up here. And we've got one unfortunate guy who's actually been hung and left there and turned to a skeleton. And then the next bit that I've built there is... I can't remember what they're called, but where you would actually, you know, put somebody's head in there and you'd throw rotten stuff at them. You also build a well next to that. Now, the next thing that we build right next to this, I've noticed that with the market, those two first stalls that we made, it looked really flat, whereas the other one's kind of like curved around. And one of the things, I didn't want to actually remove them, but instead by building a square structure behind them, which is a warehouse, which could be used to obviously store up everything that's inside the actual stalls, but also it could double as, say, if there's any refugees or anything like that, they could then use this as kind of like a shelter, or if somebody's house burnt down, something like that. Now just building a path that's joining up around there, so that path's coming from behind the actual guild hall, and the idea of this is where we're going to have a religious structure, and I wanted to go with something quite pagan and very stone structured. Kind of like monolith type of thing, so I decided to go with a couple different circles, just using plots to get those circles, and then have varying like levels of stone, and using that kind of like blue schist, which is really nice. And I've kind of used that especially in the druidic religion, the idea being that there is that kind of druidic influence that came through the land, and maybe these are back from the old druid ways, and maybe the actual religion has changed slightly. And they can see me just building up the walls, going past those buildings. And this is made mainly just so that I can then frame the rest of the actual, the rest of the buildings that are going to go in there. And you can see that we've got some kind of like fancy steps going up. And going around this side and just building this up. and then we'll go on to the next one as well. So this is all to just add in that extra layer of defense, and it makes it look less flimsy. I just thought it looked too flimsy before. So you can see there doing the little stairs going down on a bit of a weird way, and I think we'll come back and detail that later on and make it look really natural. Now this one was really difficult, building the stairway up here, so this was a bit of a challenge. I had to edit quite a few bits on there. So coming back to the stones, just putting in a couple paths. The idea being with this, that the more important you are, the more central you are in the stones when you have a festival, and then you go on to the outer stones depending on your class. So the next building is going to be for some sort of priests. So whether these are druidic priests or if we're going to have some sort of religion that kind of has been derived from the druidic religion, but more focused for the Hemburgians, I guess. But this is where they're actually going to stay. So this is like essentially what I guess you could call it a monastery. And I want to go with quite a big building, but again, pushing out different bits of the build. So there's lots of bits jutting out, as you can see. And as we start to put in the detail, it really comes to life, I think. I really like this building. I think the inside looks really good, and there's actually a basement level as well. So whether we'll have some bees outside or something like that, and they could actually keep honey possibly underneath. So the next building that we're going to be going on to is actually the Mages Guild. So the Mages Guild is going to be quite a big thing, or maybe we can come up with another name that isn't Mages Guild. It's very Skyrim-esque or very Oblivion-esque at the minute, but something similar to that. So we've got like a lot of money coming in from the mages to actually build this Mages Guild, and it's in the same style as the rest of the houses, but as you can see, similar to the brewery, it's got that kind of it's actually got a whitewash instead, and the idea being that that's a more expensive material in these parts. It's also got windows with actual glass panes to show the kind of wealth of the Mages Guild here. But I'm pretty happy with this one. It's a really interesting build, and this one again, the Mages actual building that I've kind of based this off is from Dante 78. So here we go, we can see how Hemburg is coming along. We've got the front gates. Now when you actually go through these front gates, it feels a lot more like a town. We've still got a lot of work to do, especially on the interiors of all of these. And like I said, we're probably going to do some either live streams, or we're going to do some Let's Builds. At the minute I'm without internet, so most likely it will be a couple of Let's Builds coming on to actually build these up. But I'm pretty happy with it. As you can see there, my favourite building is actually probably the Monastery, just because it looks really quite interesting on the hill, but we've still got some details to put on that and build it up around the sides. And I've got to do a couple roofs and do some roof designing around the sides of these, but so far I'm pretty happy with how Hemburg's getting along. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.